Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy. I am Nerdarchist Ted, and tonight we're going to play some 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. This is our next game of Untraditionally Arcane. We have some amazing players here who are all playing wizards. Sadly, we are down a player tonight due to a bit of overworked and unrest and all of that stuff. So, V, you are missed. Hope that you feel better soon. As always, you can find the links to all of these wonderful people and where you might be able to find them on the internet down in the description below, as well as a link to our sponsor for this game, Easy Roller Dice. And before I go any further, I want all of you out there who are watching either live or later to go to the description and look for the launch page for their new Kickstarter, the Heroic Dice of Metallic Luster. I've actually got, it's not going to come out great, but I've actually got a couple of sets that they've sent to me to preview. They are absolutely fantastic. You should definitely go and hit that notify button so that when it goes live, you can be able to see the full selection of things that are available. They're really gorgeous. I wish I had a better camera to show them off. So it's just amazing. Easy Roller Dice is our dice of choice. As we always say, whether it's your first set of dice or your 1 millionth set of dice, Easy Roller Dice for all of your dice rolling needs. So without further ado, I'm going to toss it to a player. They can toss it to a friend in turn, allow them to introduce themselves and their characters. And I will toss it to the lovely producer for the evening, Mr. Jake.
Hey, internets, it's Jake. I am MTD Jake. And you can find me when I'm not here. You can find me over on Mini Terrain Domain, where I run a Scribes and Scrolls Candlekeep Mysteries campaign on Monday nights, and on Thursday nights you can find Ted and V in the Dawnbringers. I think we're right around 3 years now. We're in our season 5. We just wrapped episode 29 last night. And it's just a lot of fun running that campaign. And we got lots of cool stuff coming on the MTD Twitch channel as well. And I am playing Odo Wonderbeard, the Beardomancer. All of my spells involve my beard. Well, not all of them. Yes, all of them. Everything I do involves my beard. Everybody loves it. Speaking of beards, I'm going to throw it over to Frag.
Hi, I'm Fraginator.
That was subverting expectation.
Beard accident. I may or may not have sneezed while trying to trim, and it got worse the more I tried to fix it. I'm playing... I totally just forgot. Who am I playing, Ted? Avtok, that guy. Avtok Treebender, the Loxodon Order of Scribes wizard. And I will throw it to Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin Miller. I have books that you can find a link for in the description. I am also here on Nerdarchy on Tuesdays. We're doing Ingest Quest right now. And you can find me over on Quill and Sword this coming Thursday. If you know Steven, he's DMing that game. It's really fun, absolute blast. I will be playing the Drow Bladesinger Cheselin, who is currently haunted, and I'm interested to see how that goes, and I will pass to Asa.
My name may or may not be Asa, and I am playing Joshua. That may or may not be his real name. And as you can tell, naming matters for my character. I'm playing an onomancer, which is pretty much a naming wizard.
So based on that, we're pretty sure that his name is Joshua.
Yeah, absolutely. That's his real name.
Always been.
Yeah, Joshua, no last name given. You can find me at Nerdarchy, or not Nerdarchy. You can find me here on Nerdarchy, but you can find me at Roll for Mischief. We stream on Tuesdays, 12 to 3 Pacific time on Twitch. And if you start following now, it's a wonderful time because we rotate DMs, and it is my rotation. And I am going to be wrapping up this 3-year campaign we've been running. So, probably 8 sessions or so until this game is over for Roll for Mischief. And then sometime mid-fall, we'll be starting season 2, which I'm super thrilled about. We're kind of a little bit of a spoiler. loosely running Curse of Strahd with a bit of a dragon overhaul. So it's going to be pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty much me. And I'm going to go ahead and give it back over to Ted.
Awesome.
Horde of the Dragon's Strahd? Like,
You know what? You just throw it all together. You'll figure it out.
Strahd von
Just watch
Drinkolich.
Frag and you'll know.
how about I play in it?
So if you're just tuning in or to catch you up, you might not have noticed, or you might have. None of them, described wizards here happen to mention anything about any of the 8 primary schools of wizardry, as that was a selection that they were banned from playing. All have to play a wizard. All have to be non-traditional. That's why the game is untraditionally arcane. Something has gone awry with magic within this particular world. These wizards were tasked with venturing towards these 8 arcane implements, the 8 vessels of arcane power, to try and find out what is going on, what is awry with them, fix it if at all possible. Last session, they finally made their way to the Seeing Stone, the arcane vessel that is linked to the school of divination wizardry. They used their combined intelligence and arcane power and sealed the rift, the crack that had somehow come into such a uniquely powerful artifact. Might not even be the correct term, but it's the closest that they were able to come up with. Each wizard was able to take a small mote of energy, but Avtok was not interested in only a small mote, but he actually tapped into the power and took some for himself. So he now not only is a Order of the Scribe wizard, but also has unlocked any of the actual wizard class abilities of the level that he's up to for divination wizardry as well. So there's some fun antics that are happening not only in the live chat, but in the actual gameplay itself. Upon completion of their first task, they used a rune of recall, snapped the little stone, and appeared back in the wizard's council chambers. And that is where we left them off. So without further ado, fresh from your recent exploits, you arrive, and there are a handful of the council members, present, not, seated and awaiting like you might expect, but, moving about the room and involved in conversation or their own tasks. And all eyes stop and turn towards you as the 5 of you appear.
I wave
You know
with
that
my
awkward
trunk.
moment? Sorry, Frags, go on.
I wave with my trunk.
Yeah, like that awkward moment where suddenly everybody's staring at you. I'm gonna do finger guns.
So-
Joshua is just going to fall into a chair. I'm exhausted. And I'll pull out a handkerchief and start dabbing at my forehead.
So the Warforged, previously, you knew him as Locke. Is
Abjuration guy.
Yes, indeed. He is seated. The only one that's actually sitting in one of the chairs on the raised half circle dais. He looks up from scrawling in. From this angle, you can't tell whether it's actually a spell book or just a standard diary or what have you. But he lays down his quill and looks up. Folds his hands in front of him. So you have returned.
Successful.
Then we should certainly call everyone in and discuss what you had actually encountered. And
Oh,
how-
for sure. We have troubling news indeed.
Troubling how?
Probably best if we get everyone together first so we don't have to repeat ourselves.
So without any kind of magical display, he sits up. Like 3 seconds go by without any movement whatsoever, and then kind of like leans back down, picks up his quill, and says, "They shall be here shortly."
Will nod and find a seat. And turn it around and sit in it backwards, like arms on the top.
There are a number of chairs and desks within this room, or chairs and tables, if you will. So there's definitely stuff that's here for things that you might be able to sit and be comfortable, or wind up sitting and working should you wish to actually pull out anything. So there are several rooms off of here, one leading towards the library, one leading towards the wizard's personal chambers. Several of your mentors wind up coming in along with the eight, the other council members, and they all seem to kind of file in, one by one. They all wind up taking their seats, except for Garivald, the halfling diviner.
I have to imagine he's off casting somewhere.
No, he doesn't take his seat. He actually comes and gets, not in your space, but comes over, to each of you and winds up, clasping your hand, which, all of you are significantly larger than he is. And he kind of,
except for Speranza.
well, true. But he takes, your hand and holds it in both of his and gives it a shake. Unless, of course, you're unwilling to kind of give out your hand. His sash of pure white that's got white embroidery just kind of flapping with his very excited movements. Please tell me what actually, transpired. Not everyone, even these, even us. And he kind of gestures behind him towards the raised dais. Not everyone actually is able to venture to these vessels. It's not one thing that we recommend meddling about. So we shared this information reluctantly, but we wanted it resolved. So please tell.
Well, first of all, this place was extremely difficult to find in the first place. And then when we got there, it was so imagine a table or an altar of sorts, like a font of power, and it had been rended, absolutely sundered.
So the halfling turns, and are any of you proficient in insight?
Yes.
So.
Yes.
So those of you who are proficient in insight, you see that while he looks in turn to all the other 7 council members, there's just a slightly longer look at Oneth Bloodsword. It's a mere fraction, but the term
Evocation.
The term rended is definitely something that must have sparked a word with him. But Oneth Bloodsword is the half-orc evocator. Not only is he large, but being an evocator, his magic is known for that kind of power, shall we say. So whether that's anything that's a clue or not, that's entirely up to you guys. But that's what you pick up on.
I need to make a bonobo roll.
Robin, is Chess just sitting there when someone talks, just calling out their school of magic?
No, she's not doing that, Icely. I'm just reminding you guys because I have them all written down.
Okay, because
I think that's more for Robin reminding you guys in case
and the audience.
And yeah, that works as well.
Okay.
I sometimes forget that
my out of character question was going to be an in character question if Chess was doing that. But Robin, can you send me the list of names and things?
Yes, it'll have to be after the game because I don't have them typed out. I just have them handwritten, but I will absolutely send you all the notes that I have after the game.
So, but please do go on. You had
So
said
I look at Ordo because he is like the mature adult here, and I want to see what he has to add to this.
Ordo is currently had taken a seat upon arrival and grabbed one of the many spell books, but is actually transcribing a spell into one of the spell books in the library here.
Oh, are you not in the room with all the people?
Well, yeah. I'm just saying I have one of the books that I'm transcribing into.
Oh.
So Ordo's barely paying attention and just sort of looks up. Did somebody say my name?
Yes. We're talking about the sundered tablet, and I haven't really gotten to what we had to do to fix it or what happened when we touched it, but you were the first one that did, so I feel like your insight is going to be very important here.
Yes, of course. I absolutely remember all of that. And Ordo would absolutely remember all of that. I'm a little fuzzy on the details. I remember there being a was it a bugbear or a hobgoblin? And a goblin and
there were hobgoblins and goblins.
Okay.
Wound up fighting. But when you do say tablet, Locke stands up. Were you at the Seeing Stone or?
No, we were at the Seeing Shrine. I just couldn't think of a better word for the little desky thing that was the divination shrine.
Well, it was described in our notes that there was a round, more circular stone or disc. The tablet of protection would be something vastly different. And
yes.
I was confused and concerned.
No, there's no reason for confusion or concern. I just did a bad job with my words and I apologize.
No apology necessary. Please continue.
At this, Joshua will lean forward and say, "And yes, I think I'll have a sandwich and a whole bottle of wine." And he's just talking to the air next to him, while fiddling with a piece of wood that's attached to a string. And anybody who's familiar with this will realize he's taking orders from his unseen servant.
Okay, I was about to say, do you have an unseen servant? So.
And then sits back in the chair afterwards and looks around, probably at everyone, Chess, looking at him disapprovingly.
Very, yes.
What? Did I miss something important?
I proceed to look up at the high table, like, do you see what we have to deal with?
We've been traveling. I'm very famished.
So Zam, the satyr, school of conjuration. Well, where are our manners? And he kind of like claps his hands, and within moments, food and beverage is brought in of all sorts, and this should satiate things and allow us to get to the rest of this story, shall we? And the crown of flowers in his hair are different than the last time that you saw him, but they are, just as beautiful and just as varied.
Well, we saw a lot of things. I mean, that's pretty much to be expected with a power center for divination. Potential futures, I guess.
The halfling that's still in your midst. We do know that the school of divination is not always set. We are creatures of free will, are we not? We come to crossroads frequently in our life, and very often will head this divergent path. And if you choose to go left, other things will happen. And if you choose to go right, then this will happen. And those moments fork and fork and fork again. So possible futures are absolutely the correct way. But if you saw something that you did not like, then you can use that as a warning to make the right choices. So as you begin weaving the tale of this stone and its rending, as a diem, the human illusionist, he asks you all to just kind of step back and give an open clearing. And he asks for a description of what it is that you see and what it is that you do. And he just begins, waving his arms around, and you can see that he's casting an illusion here in the room. And you know that this is not always the wisest course to kind of push things when you haven't actually worked out the illusion school yet. But as you describe it, it all takes shape, and you get into the actual ritual where you get around it and you begin pouring energy into your casting. And you mention that you essentially add power into the mending spell, which in and of itself, mending is not meant to heal magical items. It's not meant to do anything of a larger scale, but your combined power, you were able to kind of slowly give of yourself and exhaust some of your power even temporarily, and it slowly healed until it got till the end. And as you describe it, he seems to take in exactly what you're saying, and there might be some slight variations on timing. He probably doesn't have you guys, even though you're standing there in the room, as clear as he does this particular stone. Again, those with insight, he's only giving the details that you give. There's no indication that he has been there and knows what this looks like. So the rending probably wasn't, anywhere close to exact, other than the details that you managed to give. But as you heal and all place your hand upon this stone, the whole thing glows, super bright, like it did when it was complete and whole. And the wave that cascaded out from it, that, sent you all reeling back, disconnecting from it, knowing that this item that you sought, this correction to arcane power, having been fixed, is complete. And you're kind of like shocked and dazed at some of the look that are coming across the council members and maybe even mentors that are in the room. But the little halfling Garavald just looks with this big old smile on his face, ecstatic that you were successful.
And I will smile back, because it's kind of hard not to when somebody is like that happy about something.
Well, that was quite the tale. I do believe you all should have some time to rest. Take as much time as you need here in the grounds. There are quarters to take your respite. There are rooms should you wish to have a meeting with any or all of us. Take as much time in the library. Improve your spell books before you head off into the next venture. I don't know exactly what direction you're planning to go, but I don't think things are going to get easier from here.
Avtok is going to request a room and a corkboard. And now that he's got a little bit of divination in him, he's going to go on like insane conspiracy theories and have string and be like,
That's so good.
he's going to be obsessed with trying to figure out what's going to happen at every point.
Any mundane supplies that you would need are provided for you. No cost, no problems.
Perfect.
So before everybody splits off to do whatever it is they're going to be doing, I want to put a pin in the fact that we should all meet up again in the morning in the library. If you're all okay with that.
Sure.
Okay.
Certainly.
Esperanza, gives a nod. You can see that she is indeed tired, and she quickly heads off to one of these rooms and heads to sleep. And we will find out what Esperanza winds up doing when I have an out-of-the-game conversation with me. But, even though she can't be here, Esperanza gets her time too. So.
Mm-hmm. I will grab a book and wander into the room that Avtok is conspiracy theorying over. I've given up with the glasses, and I'm just carrying my bottle of wine with me, or rather my servant is carrying it after me. And I will make notes correcting Avtok's conspiracy theories, probably incorrectly. And then after about 2 minutes of this, Avtok just hears me snoring in the corner.
All right. So Avtok, give me a wisdom saving throw.
Whatever's left of his wine, I will be drinking.
Sure.
I'm scared, so I'm going to use my 14, or that was a 14, right? 13 portent.
13. Okay.
And the saving throw 17.
Asa, what is Joshua's spell save DC?
Wait, that can't be right.
16.
16. All right. So you are able to not be distracted by Joshua's ridiculous rantings, and you quickly see through any ramblings that he might have done. You quickly discern it's either Joshua trying to mess with you, or he's drunk and he has no idea what he's saying. You can combine the two, take one of them, but
6 in one, half dozen in the other. Avtok understands.
But you are not distracted, and you are able to make all of the theories that you wish. And
now between now and next game, I'm going to actually try and come up with a bunch of asinine theories to give you.
Just as long as you share them with me, because I
will
love seeing what players come up with, because sometimes players' asinine theories totally rewrites what's actually going on in my games. Because
and also, I'm sorry in advance to the other players.
I have to ask Avtok a question.
You're sleeping.
Well, before I'm sleeping, this is a really important question that leads to me sleeping. What are your maximum hit points?
All right. While he's looking at maximum points, Robin, did you just say I'm putting on a seatbelt?
Yes.
37.
Okay, they're more than mine. I cast sleep. That's how come I fell asleep. I just wanted to make sure that I hit
currently
me.
have 30 hit points.
Still more than me.
Okay.
You cast sleep on yourself to fall asleep.
Yes, I did.
It's the equivalent to drugging your children.
Man, I wish I could do that.
Absolutely. I think I made a wizard once who took sleep because it was the way that he put his kids to bed.
That was your last character in the last game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The vocal component is the magic word is ambient.
not lullaby or hush little baby.
I'm pretty sure that my character sang as the verbal component.
It's the material component whiskey.
Oh my god.
For the children? No, it was not.
Don't they say, you put a little bit of whiskey on the gums?
Yeah.
So stand in the corner, all of you.
I will say I have kids and I have never given them alcohol. Never, put it on a toothache.
I will also say that.
I will say that as well.
Corner.
I'm in a tent. There's no corner.
You're in a tent. There's all corners.
It's a round-ish tent.
All right. So, Joshua's asleep. Avtok is, playing around with crazy conspiracy theories that we will find out what they are at some point in time in the future. Esperanza 2 is asleep. What is Chess and Ordo doing?
I am looking for an armorer. Is there an armorer on the grounds?
So you will actually know that Oneth actually does have some skill with a smithing hammer, and there is indeed a forge here, but Oneth is not the only one here that can do forging.
Less looking for something to be forged, unless you don't have them on hand. I'm interested in rings such as you would use for ring mail, but not a full ring mail shirt or skirt or any such thing. And I will begin to explain how what I would like to do is have basically an apron of ring mail created that I can weave the strands of my beard through to create beard girding, which is in the Beardomancy document.
It is. I mean, you're going to have an awesome beard, you might as well want to protect it, right?
And it takes an hour to actually do it. It's not like regular armor. It's not something I can just, let me put my beard apron on. But it's definitely something I would like to see if he can make.
So roll a d20.
Alrighty. All right, seems appropriate to use this copper easy roller die. All right, that's a 13.
13. All right. So as it happens, there is a dwarven apprentice here, and he definitely knows his way around the forge, definitely has access to a handful of tools and projects that have been kind of in the works, and with magic kind of been on the haywire. He has busied himself with, I'm just gonna fiddle around and see what I can make. So when you tell him what you're interested in, he is like, never thought about wearing armor on the beard. That sounds amazing. So, you wind up working with him for a while, and, the two of you begin kind of building your beard girding. What about Chess?
Well, Chess has a conversation with Raylith, which I pinned with you over the course of the past couple of weeks, and just gonna give the overview of what happened in that conversation. I told him about being haunted, and he made a suggestion, which I will be telling you guys about at the morning meeting. And then Chess proceeds to go to the library and not sleep that night because, the last time she went to sleep, it went poorly for her. Well, it didn't go poorly, but it very easily could have, so she's putting it off.
All right, so
copying over spells.
So you'll have much more time in the library than everybody else. Raylith does say that we can kind of begin moving in the direction of seeing what we might do with this haunting and how we might use it to our advantage. And he definitely uses our, not by, or your. But as we said, that some of that information will wind up being discussed in the meeting. So we will fast forward. I imagine Ordo does eventually turn in for the eve.
Yes.
You have your completed beard girding, and everyone winds up turning in. Chess, you have a level of exhaustion.
Yep.
Avtalk will as well, because someone's going to have to come get him for the meeting, because he will have totally forgotten about it while he's doing string theory.
Okay, all right. So Avtalk has a level of exhaustion then as well. Nice. So
Chess would have noticed when in the library, because Ordo would definitely have left the book he was using open because he wanted somebody to see. So if you happen to look at this book, you would see that Ordo transcribed a spell called Ordo's Binding Beard into the book.
Oh, I smile at that. Like, that's very much Ordo, and like the fact that you're writing your own stuff is actually pretty neat. Chess liked that.
So
Jesselyn
did you give it a
approves.
thumbs up or a check mark?
When Avtalk sees it, he's going to quickly jot something down and I'll be right back. I have to add it to the board.
Yeah, when you guys get to the library, you find Chess surrounded by like 8 coffee cups.
Chesseline and Avtalk's eyes certainly are, a little bit bloodshot this morning. A little bit of breakfast and what have you definitely eases it a little bit for you, but it is a good breakfast does not make up for 8 hours of sleep or even 4 hours of trance. But morning comes, all of you, even if you need someone to drag you along, you are collected at the library.
So I have 2 points that I want to put pins in, but does anybody else have business first before we get down to brass tacks? Papers all over the table, like, and you will notice that like a lot of these are notes on like a couple of the papers that she has out are necromantic notes, but a lot of it is conjuration, particularly like variations on the find familiar rituals. So like if you look at the papers on the table, that's what she's been doing all night.
Joshua, stumbles in looking very haggard and seeming a bit hungover. And before really saying anything to anyone, he reaches into a pouch and pulls out just like a little bit of licorice root, sticks it in his mouth, begins chewing it around, and mutters something, and then immediately just perks up. All right, I'm ready for this meeting. What are we talking about?
Ordo sachets in very deliberately, sashaying enough that his beard sways back and forth with a very slight metallic rustling as his new beard girding. His beard is carefully woven through all of the rings, and it creates this nice just apron down the front of his beard while still allowing the beard to maneuver on its own and do some of its things. But he definitely walks in sort of moving, sashaying deliberately, so it's shing, shing, shing. Good morning, everyone. I trust you all slept well.
Ordo. That is exquisite.
Why, thank you. I worked with the Dwarven Apprentice.
What's the dwarf's name there, Jake?
That I worked with? Oh, Ordo has absolutely no idea, unless you're asking me to name him.
I am asking you to name him.
His name was Theoric.
What a wonderful beard decoration. You remind me I should probably shave myself, but we have things to discuss.
Ordo shudders when you say shave. It is not merely decoration. It is functional armor. The beard girding actually gives Ordo a +1 to AC.
Very
I've
cool.
And
never found beards to be terribly useful myself. They usually get in the way, but sometimes they help keep some flavors. But still, it's
Sometimes they help keep some secrets. Kidding. That was
as-
me, not chess.
as you say that about not being very helpful, Ordo's standing nearby, and parts of the beard have come out, grabbed one of the napkins, and are just dabbing at some food on the corner of your mouth, straightening your little bit of your robes. Yes, not useful at all.
I imagine it's that like very passive aggressive. Let me straighten your collar and pat you hard on the shoulders.
Yep.
Avtok looks at Joshua and goes, I don't know. The idea of a beard is starting to grow on me.
Oh no.
Because Joshua is this type of foolish. Could you even grow a beard?
No.
Oh, well.
I've got like 3 or 4 short hairs on the bottom of my chin, and that's it.
Just means you don't have to waste your time shaving.
As an elf, I find that slightly discriminatory.
You do all realize that should any one of you wish to have a beard, well, it is within my abilities to grant you such things.
I'm just imagining Speranza's like response to that. She has to have some kind of witty thing to say.
Oh, I miss V2.
Avtok's eyes are huge at the.
I think I do have a spell
he
that
clearly
lets me
wants a
grow
beard, but doesn't want to ask.
Well, Ordo did say that he is proficient in insight, so he would certainly have picked up on that.
And I got a 2 for whatever it takes to hide the fact I don't want it.
That would be deception, which
So that's a 1.
So I'm gonna pull a. This feels like something that Frag would normally do. Seeing this, I'm just gonna maneuver close to Avtok, and from within the beard, some of the beard hairs pull out a small vial of beard oil, and empty it into my hand. And I just rub the oil into my hand, and I look up at Avtok, and I just, on either side of the trunk, just sort of pat you on the cheeks. You would look absolutely stunning with a beard. And as I pull my hands away, a thick beard grows out from your chin.
kind of broke up a little bit there, Jake.
Oh.
All I heard was as my hands pull away from your chin.
As the hands pull away from the chin, a thick beard grows on your face. Now, this is to let you know whether or not you would like it. It will, unfortunately, only last for 8 hours.
He looks crestfallen at that.
And I imagine it's in sort of a salt and pepper to sort of complement your natural skin tones. And I just whisper, next time you can have it in whatever color you want.
Does this spell work like teleportation, where if you cast it on the same location for every day for a year, you'll have a permanent beard? Because it should.
It really should.
It doesn't specify that, but Ordo immediately takes down some notes. Permanent beard growth.
There absolutely should be a beard spell that allows you to just, grow a beard on someone that will remain. I mean, I would imagine it's far less potent than some of the things that can be done magically.
I'm just imagining going around casting this on children. Just beard for you, beard for you, beard for you.
I'm just reminded of that scene in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire where the Weasleys used that artificial aging spell and ended up with all beardy. But yeah.
We just started our day out, and I've already burned a first level spell just to grow a beard on somebody.
I burned a third level spell for essentially coffee.
We are great wizards.
Well, you did, it was pointed out that you were given as much time here in the council as needed. So
Oh yeah, I
I
figured we'd be
absolutely
spending more than one night.
I absolutely support, interesting, and fun uses of spells. So
Please message me the name of that spell so that I have it. Like to think that I'm not very good at it. So each day when I cast it, I get like one more hair out of it myself until I finally get a good beard, like a year and a half down the road. Thank you, sir.
Actually, I'll put it in our Facebook chat because you can't copy out of Zoom chat.
I can.
Well, Chess, you had concerns and things to discuss. Why don't we get started on that?
Well, okay, so two things. First of all, I'm not sure which of you I had mentioned this to, but it turns out I'm haunted. I know I talked to Speranza about it. So the goblin, when I just drank my soul shards and didn't have them cleansed first, apparently that allowed the goblin's soul to persist, and he's just kind of lingering in my psyche, trying to take my body over.
So as Chess says this, if you're actually giving Chess your undivided attention, you'll easily see that Chess's eyes kind of change. What color are they normally?
Normally, I believe they are violet.
I remember you saying that.
Right now, they kind of go to like a sickly yellow green while you're talking, and just the briefest like shadow, you see like the goblinoid face kind of come out over her facial features. Like her skin will ripple and change. It doesn't change the color of her skin. Chess doesn't even notice it, but her features change and ripple for just the briefest moment when she mentions haunted and this goblin. The eyes remain, but quickly changes back to Chess's face.
But I spoke to Master Raylith about this, and he has a hypothesis.
You appear to have neglected your skincare routine, or something. Go on.
I'm going to ignore that. So he thinks that we could modify a find familiar spell to extract the goblin's spirit from my own and put it into a body on the outside, because the familiar is still going to be connected to my soul. It's not exactly the same as actually banishing it. That's going to take a lot longer, but it should put me in a safer position than I'm in now. And so, first order of business, I was wondering if you would be willing to help me with that.
Oh yes, and you've absolutely reminded me. And I'm going to start the ritual for casting Find Familiar.
And so I look to Avtalk and Ordo.
I will absolutely assist you in whatever ways I may. My beard is at your service.
I imagine Esperanza, gives you, her full support as well.
Mm-hmm.
He is definitely the helpful type.
My beard and trunk are also at your service.
Thank you.
I'm currently throwing a bunch of things in a brazier and like burning them, and then I'm going to look at everyone else and say, "Would you like to throw something in here? We can finish this ritual together." Oh yes, and of course I'm here to help you.
I toss a coffee bean in from where I'm sitting.
Oh man, your familiar is going to be a cup of coffee.
It's a cup of Joe.
Oh, no, we can't just do this normally. I have the spell. I've been working on some modifications. Like, this is going to be a whole process. But the second thing I wanted to talk to you about was we need to decide which of these locations we're going to go to next. And I have a request.
I'm all ears, literally.
Just Raylith has been really helpful, and I know that this is weighing on him a lot, and he didn't have to help me with this situation. I totally walked into this completely on my own, and I think it would be nice if we prioritized the graveyard.
I can dig it.
I just nod distractedly as I continue to, see to this ritual.
No comments about, grave circumstances?
I was avoiding it because I feel like Ordo wouldn't make that joke.
Joshua's pretty foolish, but he's pretty distracted. He's not going to make puns right now.
Sure.
Every character I make is meant to punish people.
Right. And I love you the more for it, my friend.
But yeah, Chess is gonna hug people. If that's okay, if you seem like you don't want hugged, she won't.
Oh, Ordo is always hugs. Hugs are very much a big production. It's absolutely.
I imagine Ordo's hugs, involve both arms and quite a bit of beard.
And Avtalk just says, "Just don't mess up my beard. It's new."
I'm like very careful, but I probably don't even come up that high on you.
Probably not.
I will absolutely stop and just give you a great big hug and lift you off the ground for a second and then set you back down.
Yeah, Chess laughs. You guys. All right. So in that case, I'll see that the preparations are made and we'll get some help. Oh, it just occurred to me. The reason that we went for divination first was to see if we could find anything out about our quest that way. Maybe before we head off, we should go and see Garibaldi and find out if he's got any insight for us for the next leg of our journey. But that just popped into my head, so that's really all I've got on that.
Oh, yeah, it's a good idea. But I'm going to reach into the brazier and pull out a gray, long-furred cat and just set it on my shoulder. I think I need to go and speak with my mentor for a moment. All this talk of divination and all that.
So the gray is fur and sleek. It's definitely a cat that looks like it's more ready to hunt and more so than to sit be prim and proper. The eyes kind of glisten red in whatever firelight that's being shown from the brazier.
It's also a little matted. I should probably work on that with my next casting.
So you guys know that there are attendants that happen to be around, but they try to make themselves not be close. You guys are clearly having a meeting, so they don't want to even give the suspicion of eavesdropping, but they want to be again obviously close enough that should you need something, they are there to get said attention.
So I'm gonna flag somebody down with a list of reagents.
Sorry, I laughed. I forgot I wasn't muted, and I read Ace's comment in the live chat.
Oh no.
I don't believe so.
She threw the coffee bean in. I just thought maybe it would,
Oh, that's really funny. The comment is, does my familiar have haste cast on it too?
So I know you summon the attendant, you let them know, I'm looking for, these particular ingredients. I'm looking to talk to
Yes.
Garibaldi.
And also going to request Raylith for this ritual because he knows more about this than I do, and I want to make sure I'm not donking it up.
Who would you have a desirous to speak to first?
That's up to everybody else. Because I imagine that this ritual is going to take a while, so maybe we should talk to Garibaldi first.
So I would say if you talk to Garibaldi first to say what you're looking for, he would then be able to go off and do his rituals, and come back with the information while you guys are working with Raylith.
Yeah, that sounds really good. What do you guys think?
I'm wondering if this would be of some assistance. And from within my robes, my beard pulls out a peculiar looking spell book, as I just remembered I had the goblin spell book. I don't know if that'll be of any assistance or not, but... And I will give it to, what was his name? Gerald?
Garival.
Garibald.
Garival Proudmead.
I'm terrible with names.
Really? I never would have guessed. It's an inside joke for our viewers here.
Yeah.
You know, the DM dad, because we play a pair of dwarves over on Mini Terrain Domain. They're both dwarves. They're both barbarians. Their names both start with T, and
they're right next to each other on the overlay. And I'm.
That's your fault, though.
Yeah, and I'm constantly mixing up their names.
It's a lot of fun, and we razz them about it all the time.
I give Garivald the goblin spell book that I took from that goblin that we killed when we got all the soul shards back and everything. I don't know if it'll be of any use, but perhaps.
So he kind of glances through it. It may offer a focus. It might offer a bit of insight. But do you feel that the goblin was linked to the rending?
Go check Avtok's board.
I missed where the
Please.
goblin came into this conversation. I'm sorry.
I gave the
Spellbook.
spell book from the goblin that we killed.
Okay. Well, we don't know for sure that he wasn't. I mean, I doubt it. That seemed like some really powerful mojo. Like
the information that you were given in Riverside was that the goblin wanted to get to the shrine. He wanted to get access to it.
Which means that he didn't have it to begin with, so he couldn't have been responsible for it.
Correct. Go ahead and roll.
Oh, wait.
Investigation.
Sorry. I have goblin research notes in my inventory as well.
Ooh.
That is also in the spellbook.
That said, that could be helpful to me for other reasons.
That's what I was kind of leaning towards.
Yeah,
That might
okay.
actually be better used for the Find Familiar spell as a focus.
So then I give the research notes and the spellbook to Chess in particular.
So
Is
the
that
20
what you were asked? Sorry.
Yes, that's why I was calling for a check.
Okay. So
The
check
22nd
isn't necessary then?
Correct.
the 22nd thing on my little board of possibilities after hearing about the goblin probably not having been involved in the Tower of Divination like comes off, and I crumple it up and throw it away and just make it look like that part was never there.
So, Garivald, eventually, comes. You finished up whatever, cleaned up whatever notes that you don't want him to be able to see. Oh, morning. Hope all of you are well slept and fed, and kind of looks over to Avtok, looks over to Chess, and looks over to Ordo and gives a big smile. So what might I be able to do for all of you this fine and lovely morning?
Well, I was actually rather hoping that you would be able to give us some insight. The idea behind going to the Seeing Shrine first was to see if we could get any insight on our other objectives going forward. And since that seems to be in order, perhaps you could look into what's going on I believe we were planning on hitting the graveyard next. So if there's anything you could warn us about in advance, that would be very much appreciated.
I could divine a handful of spells and see what I might be able to give, not only in the greater picture, but in the specific as well. Please give me a handful of hours. It's about mid-morning now, so he says, "I will find you all again about mid-afternoon." Will that work? Are you looking to set out sooner than that?
No, we're probably going to be spending another night here before we head out, so that would be perfect.
Excellent. He looks and makes sure there wasn't anything that the rest of you needed, wanted.
Ooh. No, I'll talk with him later.
Gives a bow. His white on white stole nearly coming to the ground as he scurries off. And about 20 minutes later, Master Aelith, he winds up kind of slinking into the room. As always, he kind of creeps his way in. His normal pauldrons of bone and skull spikes that are on his shoulders has definitely been removed for the day, but everything he's wearing is black, except for his stole, which is bound in white. And his eyes, you always notice that they're moving, and they always seem to take in a lot of information. You can definitely see that there's a lot going on there. And the standard neutral expression definitely shifts into a smile as he gazes towards you, Chess. Good morning. I hope, sorry you didn't sleep well, but I dare say I know why.
Well, once you get on the research train, sometimes it's hard to stop it. I'm gonna organize the notes in a way that sort of makes sense.
Well, I too have come with some notes of my own. He pulls out a scroll and pulls out a belt pouch. Winds up dumping a handful of interesting ingredients upon the ground. There's a piece of dried greenish leather skin. You're not quite sure. It's a handful of knuckle bones that have come from a distinctly small creature, as well as some very blackened, pointy fingernails, also from a strange, small creature.
Are these goblin remains?
Indeed.
Are you going to speak with them?
Well, in a manner of speaking, I believe so.
Oh, good. Let's see. Also, my cat has weaved its way between his feet and is just rubbing up against his leg, purring and meowing at him.
He, as it the first time it makes contact, he just looks down and the cat moves away.
Oh, don't mind her. She has a mind of her own.
Yes, the newly summoned familiars always need to test their boundaries.
I might have given her coffee before she came out of the cauldron.
To each their own. So he looks through your notes, and you gotta begin going over, unless any of the four of you wind up chiming in. All of his conversations definitely are spoken direct to Chess, and you feel, or it's almost obvious that he is not caring or completely ignoring that you are even in the room. There's nothing that you've seen from this individual to see that he's got a lot of manners when it comes to a lot of different things.
Chess, however, will occasionally address other people and keep them involved in the conversation as it's going on.
And when that happens, there's no air of annoyance that other people are brought in, and points that are well noted, which I'm certain some of you certainly make. He goes into it and I had not considered that, and sometimes he enumerates what the issues might be going in that direction, and notes, well, if we do that, here are possible ramifications or possible advantages therein. So looking and weighing all of the checks and balances of this process, you believe after a good solid hour you've got a modified find familiar spell that could be enacted, and it would require the lot of you with a bit of assistance of Raylith kind of adding in the power, not so much anything else.
Which makes sense, because we're probably not really casting this as a conjuration. We're probably actually casting this as a necromancy spell, which I can't imagine is going to be easy.
So what I'd like to do here is to turn this into a skill challenge.
Yes.
So you wind up drawing an arcane sigil on the ground, starting much of the way many find familiar spells are done, and all of this stuff is kind of taken and moved into a more ritual room, which the grounds certainly has in spades. Not only is there a common room that you guys can use for this, but that each of the masters have their own, and then there's even more for special guests that might be visiting, like the mentors that we haven't really discussed much. But you draw this sigil, and you're directed to add in something in the drawing that pertains particularly to you, Chess, and something that you denote about the goblin. So what do you add as each of those?
Okay. Like images of something that pertains to me and then something that pertains to the
Correct.
goblin?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm probably going to draw a skull for the goblin, because if I recall correctly, that's like what he had on the end of his little staff there.
Yeah, there were two animal skulls that dangled from ropes.
So I'm gonna draw my best approximation of those, and then for myself, I'm gonna go with a star.
Okay. So the typical find familiar ritual is to take 10 minutes and requires a pearl, all of that absolutely provided. But this ritual, which if it works, will wind up binding this creature as your familiar, and then any further castings that of a regular find familiar would wind up working for you in this process. If you fail, who knows what winds up happening. So I will use at this point in time, before we even get started, in Nerdarchy games, we always start off with inspiration. So each of the players have it, and they have got the ability to either use it for themselves or use theirs to give it to another player. It's our way of always making sure that we always have access to a reroll if you need it at least once a session. So you work with Master Rayless and looking through, this enactment, and he's like, well, you are going to use this incantation. Meanwhile, I'm going to be doing this. So he winds up starting and working in a clockwise circle while you're going counterclockwise, so that you meet back up at a point, and you're going around your friends who are standing outside the circle, so that you're both kind of going outside of them. So we'll start off with you, Chess.
Okay.
What skill are you going to use in this scenario? Knowing full well that the rest of your party has to follow and is supposed to be using a skill different than what you have.
Well, I think I would like to use investigation because I've been doing research on this for most of the night and probably read the goblin notes as well.
Okay.
Let me see.
Are we all there for this ritual, or is it just her and the master?
Nope, everyone's there.
I don't know if it's something I can do, but if there's a check that involves the goblin itself, can I at some point give it my 4 portent on some kind of check to help?
If it comes to that, absolutely.
Perfect.
I got 18.
Okay. So using your research, not only in the figuring out of the spell, but in actually looking through the notes of what was left, within the spell book that Ordo had, you definitely gather a little bit of information about this particular goblin. Maybe not a true name, not anything that Joshua would get super excited about, but emotions, feelings, memories, goals, things that you have been able to ascertain, and just enough of who that person is, was, whatever terminology you want to use. It's used as a lasso, and spectral ropes. They're not quite chains, but thin ropes lash out from the circle, from 4 points within the circle, each attached to where your 4 companions are standing at the moment. And these spectral ropes basically whip out in your direction, and you're rather surprised, but they don't make any physical contact with you. But as it passes into you, you see the goblin pulled into the center of the circle. In movies, when you see shadows and ghosts moving, and there's that spectral trail, it's still connected to you. It hasn't been removed out of you, and wherever you go, that blurred connection is still there. Nobody feels the. We just lost Asa. Oh no. I hope everything's okay.
That was weird because he said he'd be right back, and then he was gone, and then he was away from his computer. I blame his familiar.
Oh, must be. Blame the cat. As you continue moving, and this spectral trail, as it goes through any of your companions, you don't feel any of that icy cold that Chess feels. But the necromantic energies in the room have definitely been elevated. And Jess, obviously, who do you wish to pass it to? Ordo or Avtok?
Avtok is still here? Okay. Oh, good. Just the screen got kind of... Okay. Let's go with Avtok this time. I've been picking on Ordo a lot tonight.
I'm totally lost. Where am I? Holy cow, that's way off. I don't know what's going on.
I'm working on it.
I'll quit moving it then.
I didn't know that you could move your own face.
Well, I was moving my whole laptop.
Oh.
But I bumped it the first time.
Welcome back, Asa.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I stepped away, came back, and I got booted out of Zoom. How weird.
I blamed your familiar.
It's totally my familiar. She just walked across the keyboard.
See, my new insights were able to detect that.
Makes sense.
Avtok, what skill are you using to aid in this particular ritual?
Ruh-roh.
If you guys want to, like, kind of negotiate with each other in the side chat, you can totally do that so that you're not kind of flummoxed when it comes to your turn.
The only things I'm even remotely good at are Arcana, History, and Investigation.
Okay, well, investigation has been used.
Okay. I guess History then?
Okay. So you wish to use history. Go ahead and make a history check.
Good thing I used Portents already.
Yep.
That's slightly above average. So 18.
18. So you begin, looking through your, in the preparation step. You love books, you enjoy research and that kind of stuff. So you actually wound up looking up information on goblinoids, and specifically like the weakened mindset and whatnot of typical goblins, knowing that they are easily bullied and controlled by the other goblinoid creatures. Both orcs and hobgoblins basically have treated them like slaves. So the angle at which servitude, which is specifically what we're looking to do here, is where you went. So the different methods of that is what you would have told to Chess. So here you are incanting, those kinds of things, and it's definitely ominous to see, the typically reserved Avtok, talking about, the binding and the forced, slave, or the forced servitude, I should say, nature of it. It's a little out of character, but definitely pertains to that role, that check. So, Fraginator, who are you saying is going to go next?
I like Ace's angle in the chat.
All right, so you're going to toss it to Joshua.
Oh, dang it. Stupid names. Yeah, Joshua. That guy.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the religious angle, with consideration of like what does happen to goblins after they die? What would be going on with this soul had it not bound itself to Chess? And my roll is a 22.
Wow. So every race, for the most part, tends to have their own religion. Goblinoids don't have their individual, but sometimes things do. Typically Magoubliet is a very goblinoid god, and wherever goblins would go tends to be where that would be. But this particular creature definitely sought ways to not go to an afterlife, but to be back here for some reason. That with the research that was done and discussed, even your own observations in the library, seeing that spectral face shimmer across Chess's, definitely gives you the air of, there could be angles of possession here that an eventual contest of wills could happen if something is not done. And if Chess were to lose, she might very well be cast out and the goblin have full control of the body. That in and of itself is a truly scary possibility. So you speak to the spiritual nature and the beyond, and all of the things that get into a bit of the undead aspect of all of this, and the ropes, both when Avtok completed his incantations, as well as when Joshua does, the ropes are seem to get thicker, and the trail seems from this goblinoid spirit to Chessaline is diminished. It's spectral and see-through, but it's not quite as thick. It's not as prominent. So, Ordo, what are you going to add here?
As this ritual is taking place, Ordo draws upon his expertise as a barber. As often barbers were not only masters of shears and combs, but of medicines and scalpels, often serving as doctors and surgeons. Ordo spent a little bit of time studying the study of humorology and the four humors of the body. Ordo believes that the particular humor serving the connection between this goblin entity and chess is the yellow bile. It seems most to connect with the choleric nature of ambition and aggressive short-temperedness of this goblin. And so I will be attempting to use my medicinal skills to identify and weaken that connection between the goblin and chess.
Excellent. I love it.
So see, when you go last, you have a little more time to plan. That is a 23.
So you absolutely nail it. While this goblin doesn't have a physical connection anymore, the medical aspects that you are calling to, have to some degree been magically or through arcane means transfixed into the spiritual world, and you have wielded essentially a magical scalpel and severed some of those connections. At this fourth successful check, you wind up seeing the four ropes that had grown in thickness now actually become arcane chains, and the spectral form, as the five of you, well, six if you count Raelith, incantating, and you've gotten to the point where your separate parts have kind of come to an end, and you all begin following this incantation together in unison. And I'm not going to require any further rolls. You all did spectacularly, but the chains, pull, and as this happens, this trail weakens and weakens and breaks. And as it breaks, this goblinoid creature, everything that you saw of him in life, the staff, the robes, it's there in 100% size, just 100% a spectral form, and he pulls in every which direction. He swings the staff, and it just happens to go through these chains like it wasn't there, but yet it still holds and binds him. He yells and he screams, and it's like a faint echo of his voice. It's not even loud enough. Like, you acknowledge that he's attempting volume, but it's like you hear it from several rooms away, and it's not a whisper, but it's certainly not the shout that his body is clearly trying to give off. And he struggles and he struggles, and the chains pull. The more he struggles, the more it pulls down. But as opposed to, just pulling him closer to the ground, it's actually diminishing the goblin that was already small. And he fights harder and he gets diminished. And before it slumps to the ground, completely spectral, the goblin is barely 1.5 feet tall. And as the spell completes and you finish the incantation, the arcane chains, one by one, you see pop, 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 pop. And a spectral kind of trail comes off of this goblin. Doesn't go very far, but always leans slightly towards Chess. But the goblin is there in the physical. And it glowers at you, Chess, before it bows in your direction. Not saying a word.
So I'm gonna like crouch to eye level. And I'm going to be like, hey, it doesn't have to be exactly like this. You know, we don't have to keep fighting each other. I wasn't gonna let you just take over my corporeal form, but you don't have to be like entirely adverse to what's going on either. Like if you're well behaved, I can figure out how to get you what you want to.
Go ahead and make a persuasion check.
I don't think I'm good at these, but I will certainly try.
Can I give him a 4 on his whatever check?
It's just to see how well she's able to convince him.
16.
16. So you could sense that there was a bit of frustration, and you notice that like there's a retort. You know, when somebody turns and looks like they're about to say something and then bites their tongue or holds their tongue, however you want to use the expression. But he just nods. You know, you don't know, you haven't heard him say anything yet. But you know, it's clear that it's not over, but you definitely got something through.
Okay.
So Raylith looks to the lot of you. Well done. Well done. He looks down. Don't think I've ever seen a goblin quite so small.
I was afraid the spell was going to goblin him up completely.
Well, on that note, Jess, if there's anything else, he kind of swirls his hand and, you know, kind of cleans up the little scraps of goblin that were, you know, scattered about the circle, and they sweep back up into the black pouch at his side. Should you require myself for anything, all you need to do is ask.
Thank you.
Nods to you, looks to the rest of you, gives a slightly less of a nod, and scampers out or slides out or creeps out, whichever way you want to describe him.
Slithers out.
Chess just kind of like watches the door for a minute after he leaves and then turns back to you guys. Like she didn't just do that. And thank you guys too.
And you know, for our viewers at home, you know, Ordo was saying that, you know, Arcane Chains was the name of the college band, and Scraps of Goblin is the first studio album. So anybody wants to make that a thing, that would be hysterical.
I mean, at least like an old school tee.
I would absolutely
totally
wear
wear
that.
that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So does everyone have familiars out at the moment?
Ordo does not have a familiar.
Okay.
He's got a beard though.
Then I haven't brought mine out because, like, I haven't seen a need to. But if everyone had one out, I was gonna be like, okay, you can come play.
Well, I mean, if you guys don't have familiars, then how are we going to have familiar Fight Club? Just
Come
saying.
on. Pit them against each other. Cat versus goblin. Go.
But mine's got like 5 hit points, dude. Like,
It's a familiar. They all have low hit points.
It does 1 damage.
Mine's a
It,
cat,
it
dude.
specifically says in the stat block it can't attack, and then lists an attack. Like,
So,
Anyway,
you guys have a very decent amount of time left. I mean, I imagine between conversation and actual ritual, it's now just past lunchtime. So you've got 2 to 3 hours to kill before Garavald would be able to be ready for you all.
I need to go see a man about a name. I'm gonna pick
That
up my
seems
cat.
Very on brand for you.
I'm gonna pick up my cat and march off and hunt down my mentor, whose name I actually forgot. So I'm a great note taker.
I hope you have it somewhere, because I don't have on my notes here anybody.
Fortunately.
Ace is gonna have to watch the first session.
Yeah.
I've got it somewhere. Do I have it somewhere accessible right now? No.
Real talk, I'd have to look at the first session for my person too.
Oh, yeah. I just know that he was old, and I think he was also a tiefling.
I would believe so as well. That was my remembrance.
So, and it wouldn't matter because whatever name he used is a false name anyway.
Just call him a different thing every time you talk to him, and then nobody will know.
that could be his thing. He goes by a title, or he changes up the name on a daily or weekly basis.
I do believe Joshua didn't call him a name when he addressed him in the first episode, but like gave him an honorary, like master or teacher or something like that. So I do believe calling him teacher would be fitting for this.
Sure.
Yeah. That's assuming that's where we want to go with the story. There could be other people wanting to do things, and we can just ignore me for a bit.
So was this something that you wanted to play out, or was this something you just wanted to kind of narrate?
Yeah, this is something I wanted to play out because it tied in with what I saw when we did the divination thing.
Oh, that's right.
So, I mean, unless somebody else, has an objection, we can go there next.
Oh, please do. I really want to see this.
Sure. So Joshua, winds up finding his mentor, teacher, if you will.
Senpai. Is that the right term?
Sensei.
Any work? How might I assist you today?
In full disclosure, when we came across that bizarre divination disc, I saw many troubling things. You wouldn't by chance happen to be some kind of demon in disguise seeking to gain power, would you?
Well, I was in the chamber when Garavald mentioned that you looked at possible futures, possible things, fractured timelines, all of that. Those that tend to go down a particular walk of life, it's not unknown that we wish to gather names and gather power. You don't necessarily have to be someone that I collect power over.
That was surprisingly not an answer.
And yet that is what you will get.
Well, my insight was a 17, and now Asa is suspicious. So I think uh
You really think that I would have taught you the things that I taught you if I wished to turn you into a puppet?
I suppose not. You've taken me down a path of magic that is able to far outstrip anything that anyone else around here can do.
There are places where our particular school of magic is not taught, is not accepted. Truth be told, I was rather surprised to get the missive and ask that we attend, but perhaps the process of our particular brand is going to be necessary to solve whatever is out there. But look at the lessons that I have told you, taught you, shown you. They will serve you well.
It does seem many of the masters are very hesitant to trust those of us who use names. It's troubling.
Well, I don't mean to offer offense, but you are fairly obvious when you are offering a greeting, especially to those just after you have been announced. You must gain confidence. You must allow for the natural affinity and affection take hold before you hold out your hand and ingratiate yourself to them. Meanwhile, you collect their name in passing.
That seems so devious. I mean, all I wish to do is use their names to help elevate their own power and protect them. I don't understand why our school of magic is viewed at with such suspicion.
Well, there are those who would use our type of magic to do more than protect, but would subvert the ideals, or those ideals, and twist it for their own uses. Despicable, I know, but it is entirely what the general populace believes, what we're for.
I am troubled, teacher. I feel that this misunderstanding should be clarified, but I just don't know how one would go about doing that.
One does not simply wave a staff and correct years upon years of misconceptions. The misgivings are there, the foundation set. All you must do is swim against the tide.
But these are intelligent individuals. Surely they could listen to reason and come to an understanding of what it is we truly aim to do.
Yes, but those who have, shall we say, built the foundation have laid it so well that those who have come after, those with a positive spin, even when they are being completely honest, by those of intelligence, presented with logic, they are viewed as skilled liars. As a bard plucks the harp string, the onomancer sings their song of innocence.
Well, I hope I have the wisdom to see and navigate these situations well enough that I can help our cause in bringing understanding to this noble practice. Thank you. Thank you, teacher. You have always given me insights. I think I need to go and meditate on this conversation.
Do so, but use your time here wisely. Learn what you can. Convince those here of your sincerity. And the library full of research and spells. It will help you regardless of what things that are out there. I found some interesting things to read myself. Being here to protect the masters is there's really nothing to do. So I too am studying and learning. So it is an interesting place.
Out of curiosity,
Sure.
what was he doing when I found him?
So he was actually in his room and he was reading a book.
Okay. Like a book from the library or a book from his own collection?
You had not seen the book before. I will allow you to surmise as to whether it was something from here or whether it was something that he had brought with. You're not quite sure.
Okay. I just, for my own decision making, rolled a perception check of 11 minus 1, so 10. I'm going to say that I didn't get a chance to actually look at the title of the book.
Sure. I imagine when you kind of knock and you announce yourself, you come into the sitting room where he's sitting there reading, and he just kind of shuts the book and places it off on the shelf, and the cover was unfamiliar, and by happenstance, it happened to be the binding was put away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing looked like he was trying to be deceptive. So.
And then just noting that Joshua would have just not found it important.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right. I'll leave at that point and go to my own rooms until we decide to get together again.
Sure. Did anyone else have anything specific that they wanted to do?
I don't have time to trans at this point, so no.
Okay. All right. So a lot of you wind up taking some time, to relax, get another meal, spend as much time in the library as you want, just kind of take a short rest, however you will, but eventually the time comes, Garivald calls you all back to a sitting room. You're not in the full audience chamber, but he comes in and you can see that he's got several scrolls, and an attendant has a couple of books that they're carrying along behind, and his little feet moving. Well, I dare say that was a bit interesting. So somebody roll me a D20.
Has anyone come to get me yet?
9.
Yeah, you would have all been.
Okay.
I rolled a 9.
Okay.
So did I.
Oh, wow.
Now I have to roll.
I rolled an 8.
I rolled an 8 too.
Interesting. All right. So
Wow.
the
It's pretty targeted.
he lays down the first scroll, and you see a picture of, at first, what looks like kind of nicely drawn clouds in the sky, and then you see a kind of like it looks like it's kind of depicting some kind of story, and you see a figure. It's not fantastically drawn, but it looks to be some kind of angelic creature. You're not able to discern any kind of gender, but you can definitely see like white flowing robes, winged feathered wings, it possessing a sword. You then scroll looking further down, there is an arcane sigil drawn, and all of you being wizards, you definitely know the sigil that is listed as or defined magic. Even if you don't speak Draconic, that sigil is definitely something you've seen before. And then below that is that same sigil, just drawn in two pieces, as if it was sliced in half. And he rolls that scroll and puts it to the side. Troubling. I don't know what all of you are able to ascertain. Everyone divines things differently. When I do it, I tend to get images, and I scroll it out as best I can. But that is the first divining that I was able to do. To me, I'm certainly worried at that. We previously discussed that not all futures are set, but this is certainly something that is out there, and possibly related to what is going on. And he unfurls the next, and it looks to be nothing more than a cavernous tunnel, a shadowy creature, and then a tendril, something coming out of the shadow with just this wispy tendril, tendril, tentacle, you're not quite sure. There's definitely some reminiscence to where it's positioned on this spectral creature. Could it be beardomantic magic? It looks like a possible beard hand coming off of the thing. You are not quite certain exactly. And then he rolls up that scroll, puts it aside, and this scroll doesn't have much to it. He unrolls it, and it is just a simple picture of a skull.
Okay.
This one, there are too many things related to skulls for me to really feel confident about this one. In fact, I hesitated in even being willing to share it, given the potential dire aspects. you've already been successful once, so I can only surmise that you would succeed again. But if one looks too deeply into this, it could be seen as very bad.
Oh, worry not. If we're going into the Gravane graveyard, there are sure to be skulls all over the place.
The way I see it is that we're going to be killing it.
You're going to be killing a skull?
No,
Quite
the
possibly.
successfulness of our mission. Like we're killing it. We're getting it done.
You're going.
Think positive.
You're
It's
going
a
to kill
euphemism.
the.
It's a euphemism.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I am very much distraught by these scrolls.
Oh, no, don't be. This any of this is. I mean, for instance, and I'm gonna point to the one with the tendril. I'm gonna be like, this one is probably something that we're going to have to fight, and in that case, we've got a little bit of heads up as to what to prepare for. And I mean, of course, there are going to be a whole bunch of undead things. It's the Gravane graveyard. It's the center of necromancy. Why would it not be full of undead things, you know?
Hmm. Well, I mean, the Gravane graveyard has quite a rich lore. Why you have a desire to go there next, I don't know, but that is not for me to decide. You have already given me back my full access to magic. None of this nasty side effects. So, and he snaps his finger, and the attendant comes over, and he pulls out a couple of books. Says the graveyard, it's been around a very long time. The pull of necromantic energy within said place has caused an attraction by many individuals over the years, but it also pulls in life, not only for its own evil means, but to propagate its own nature. For necromancy needs life and death to function, yes?
That is the way of it.
So he pulls out the first book and he begins rambling off, a handful of towns, minor villages and things that, in this year, this village came and this horrible thing happened and lots of people died. And, they were buried here. 100 years later, the gravestones were removed. Maybe, the material was needed for another war, or, the weather had stripped away any names. So the fact that it was actually gravestones wasn't aware. We're not quite sure, but they were removed. Eventually, another town and another village and another settlement. And he pulls out book after book after book, laying them down, and half a dozen to a dozen towns, all things being buried, all people dying in very unfortunate ways, very mass scenario, so that there's a lot of death all going into the ground over a short period of time. And the area just kind of spread and grew in where all of these dead were going. And about every 100 years, some of those bodies would pull themselves up out of the ground. And he pulls out a book showing, it happened, here. And the undead literally slaughtered everyone in the town. And here's the recounting of this particular, chronicler. who just happened to pass through town and happened to see several undead and managed to get out of town on his horse before the undead could get to him, but saw that every single soul had fallen. And it happened again. Here's a few hundred years later, someone else, made note. He hands up book after book.
And at some point during all of these books, Chess is going to break in and say, have you considered that it's possible that one of the reasons they are so restless is that no one remembers them?
Well,
If this started by destruction of their headstones, it seems to me they've got plenty of reason to be upset.
it is possible that there is that. But some believe, and this is speculation or rumor, that we can detect that there is, even from far away, high powerful magic can feel the focus of necromantic energy. It's how we here are able to have some idea of where these vessels are. And we don't know specifically what within the graveyard is the focus, other than it is in that place. Even Raelith does not know specifically. He definitely has interest in getting there, but given the fact of his own powers not working correctly, spells being awry,
It's weighing on him very heavily.
well, it's when we have spent as long casting spells as we have, it's second nature. And imagine if all of a sudden your sword arm were to stop working every so often. If your leg would not respond to your call when you went to take a step. You've had it all your life. That's quite unsettling and quite disturbing. And Master Raelith has been around a lot longer than I.
Well, we'll figure this out.
So feel free to look through these histories if you feel there might be something in there that I've missed. I have no need of the scrolls, and he kind of does a shuffle step away from that third scroll.
It was just completely without any concern whatsoever, just roll it up like it's a normal scroll and stow it away. No fear.
And he bids you all adieu. Definitely, bows deeply to all of you. Kind of much more so than any of the others. Whether you take that as he's incredibly thankful that you've all restored his powers, or whether it's just as like, hey, these guys are possibly willing to skirt death, or maybe a combination of all of the above.
He's just lower to the ground.
Right, but he got lower when he bowed.
Joshua and Av talk.
Yes.
Joshua's attention has completely been on the books since he brought him out. I've been going over whatever ledgers and records and names and whatnot that I can gather.
So a little bit louder than Joshua and Av talk.
Yeah, yes. Make it quick, please.
Okay, I have a hypothesis. We were told that all of this started by destruction of the headstones. I'm wondering if the two of you could figure out some kind of way to divine the names of the fallen, and maybe figuring those out could help us bring a measure of peace to them while we're doing this.
I'm already on it.
Okay.
Like the
I've
moment
talked-
names being wiped from headstones came up, I was starting to grab books and just like look through ledgers and try to figure all that out.
That earns you a warm smile.
I also wonder if we shouldn't consider reaching out to some form of cleric.
And requisitioning a bunch of holy water.
Maybe just, I mean, the last location, goblins, primitive villages, we can handle all of that, but these are a lot of dead people. And this might be a bit more than we know how to deal with.
Yeah, I think holy water is a really good idea, honestly.
Get a couple steaks too, just in case.
Some form of blessing would be useful.
Is now really a good time for food?
I'm starving, yes.
It's always the time for food, but
Sorry, the DM gets to make jokes too.
That's
As he
funny. I
should.
didn't catch it at first.
mhm.
Even funnier.
So I was gonna have you guys, teleport on, but since we don't have V, and I don't know whether Esperanza wants to be able to get stuff taken care of before you wind up heading out, we'll actually just kind of call it here. We'll confirm some details off air and all of that jazz. If you're still out there, please go ahead and look to the description below where you can find these lovely people on the interwebs, Twitch and YouTube and Amazon and all that other stuff. They all do awesome things. You certainly have to take a look. And of course, I would not feel right if I didn't pitch, the heroic dice of metallic luster again. They are amazing. They are gorgeous. You definitely have to check out that Kickstarter. It is supposed to be launching on August 17th, but you can go to that notify page so that you can be able to get access right on day one. Easy Roller Dice are awesome. I love them. So as always, thank you guys for playing. Thank all of you out there for watching. And you know the drill. Until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.
nerdy.
Nerdy.